What's up, YouTubers? This is the Gold Standard 00924 coming at you with another video. I'm going to be continuing my Royal Rumble video installment. And the video I'll be discussing for today is my review from last year's Royal Rumble, which was in 2012. And overall, the show, I must say, just wasn't really that impressive to me. I mean, you had about 6 matches on the card, and about half the matches on the pay-per-view card were just filler matches to pretty much fill up pay-per-view time. So yeah, there were some filler matches on the undercard that you would normally see on an episode of Raw, SmackDown, or some other WWE weekly programming. So yeah, it just really kind of hurts the pay-per-view. I mean, especially, you can't, I mean, I understand the Royal Rumble is really the main priority of the entire pay-per-view, hence the name, but it still doesn't really excuse the fact that they could have at least had better build-up for some of these matches and not just throwing it in for the sake of throwing it in. But let's just get started, so shall we? The opening contest we have is a triple threat steel cage match for the world title. You have the Big Show, Mark Henry, and the champion Daniel Bryan. This was actually very unusual for a world heavyweight title to be the show opening match. I mean, granted, WrestleMania 27, you had Edge opening the show, against Alberto Del Rio, but, this is just a prime example of just how much prestige the World Heavyweight Championship has fallen over the years. Guys like Triple H holding the belt and Batista holding the belt, and then we go from that to just a bunch of transitional champions just opening up matches. So it's really a shame. The match started off really well. Big Show showing some offense. All 3 men utilizing the steel cage. And prior to the match, there was like this little moment where like Big Show was making his way to the ring, and then the little girl in the crowd was a little scared, but then like Big Show just tried to give her a hat, and then after a while, she got the hat, and then the rest was history. It was a little cute moment, might say. But getting back into the match, it was just a normal pace match. You saw a lot of canceling pinfalls and a lot of break holds. Big Show did his usual thing, with the knockout punches, which almost seems like he was gonna win the match. And the match ended with like Big Show, Daniel Bryan were on top of the cage, and then like Big Show was trying to pretty much wrap Daniel Bryan's throat with the choke slam, but then like Daniel Bryan fought it off, and then he just landed on ringside. He pretty much got over the cage, climbed over the cage, and Daniel Bryan won the match. It just felt like the match could have ran longer, and I felt like I expected more from it, but I guess it's kind of understandable considering you had like 3 other matches that were being kind of built up as kind of like you have to watch this. I mean, this is the reason why you should watch this pay-per-view, and I guess that's kind of understandable, but still, I mean, just for a world title, the top tier belt of your particular brand, which is SmackDown, it's just very disappointing. So, I mean, it was a good match, but, you expected so much more. So, the triple threat match gets a 2.25 star. The next match we have is a 8 Divas tag team match between Beth Phoenix, Natayla, and the Bella Twins taking on Kelly, Eve Torres, Alicia Fox, and Tamina. This is just typical Divas action. About half the roster in the Divas division are pretty much gone, like in under a year. I mean, Kelly got released. Beth Phoenix left as well. The Bella Twins. Eve Torres just left the company like this past Monday, losing the women's title to Caitlyn. So yeah, about half the women in this roster were all gone. But this match was okay, if I could say, but I would much rather have seen a Divas title defense instead of an 8-women's tag. But it was okay. I mean, I know a lot of people. I understand a lot of people don't like Divas matches. I mean, I personally don't like them either, especially in this day and age. But I didn't think it was all that bad. The match started off with Natalya and Tamina going at it, and so they start. They kind of went back and forth, and you saw a couple tags as well. There were some spots from Kelly where she did like a body splash on all seven women off from the outside, basically to the outside. Excuse me. Um, yeah, you just saw some. It's pretty decent action, but it's not really something like anything spectacular or anything. But they just had some fair offense, but this match just was just kind of there. I mean, something you would watch for like on Monday Night Raw or something, but I'll give it about 2 stars. I mean, maybe I'm just being a little generous and maybe pushing it a little bit, but I mean, I personally would have. This match should have just been on TV, basically. So 2 stars. I mean, not really much to say. Oh yeah, also forgot to mention, Kelly doing that nice head scissors thing, but that swing head scissors. But that was probably the only good thing that she did. But personally, I didn't really care for Kelly or the Bella twins, and pretty much half the divas. I just not really a big fan of. So yeah, I mean, 2 stars. Next match we had is John Cena versus Kane. Gosh, man. This storyline was just so nauseating. And, just basically, you know, Kane telling John Cena to embrace the hate. And then, like, pretty much almost every Raw leading up to the Royal Rumble had Kane beating up Zack Ryder as some kind of punching bag. And then, like, Zack Ryder was in a wheelchair. He had his arm broken. He's all tied up in all these bandages. And then you have Eve Torres' horrible acting. I mean, it was just so bad. And then like John Cena made this pissed off face. It was just so, oh my gosh, it's just the way the storyline just played out was just so terrible. And the match itself was just as terrible as the storyline. I mean, it did have a nice pace. I mean, there wasn't too many submission holds and stuff. It was just kind of straight up back and forth. But Cena acted like personally, they didn't make Cena out to be like this guy that wants to go out there and kick your ass. He was just all smiling and stuff when he came out in the ring. It's like it just didn't feel in the match. It just didn't feel personal. And you saw a lot of counters from Kane. Like Kane countering John Cena's attitude adjustment, and John Cena, and Kane countering John Cena's running maneuvers. This match was this. I mean, it wasn't until like at the end of the match, which pretty much it ended so anticlimactically. With Cena and Kane going at it, backstage, and then Zack Ryder pretty much was in the locker room. Kane just broke into his locker room, and then he tried to beat up Zack Ryder, putting as Kane headed back in the ring, and then he just basically either used like a chokeslam or a tombstone. Vague memories, but either one of those moves, and actually, yeah, Kane did a tombstone on Zack Ryder, and and Eve Torres came out, and then Cena came out and tried to fend Kane off, but that backfired, and then Eve Torres was just crying, and this was just stupid shit. If I was Eve, I would have kicked Kane in the crotch or something, but just before Kane could execute the tombstone, but it was just. I don't know. I mean, yes, it did continue over to Elimination Chamber with that ambulance match to pretty much wrap up that whole feud with Cena coming up on top. But just the feud itself was so terrible, and the whole embrace the hate thing, with Cena, where they were just trying to tease a Cena heel turn, it was just all a waste. So yeah, Cena versus Kane gets 1.25 star. I mean, this is just plain terrible. The next match was between Brodus Clay taking on Drew McIntyre. Um, I don't know what to say. I mean, this is a match that you would like pretty much most of the undercard matches, just something you would see on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown for that matter. Just basically Brodus Clay squashing Drew McIntyre in under 5 minutes. So there isn't really much to say. I mean, it was just kind of thrown in there. Just Brodus Clay's first pay-per-view debut under that whole dancing gimmick, that the Flash Funk disco gimmick thing that he currently has now. I don't know. I want to give it an NA. I don't know if I want to give it 1 star, but I'll probably give it 1 star. I don't know. I mean, this match was just. I mean, it wasn't any botches or anything. It was just a match that shouldn't even be on the card to begin with. You know, I would much rather seen like an Intercontinental or United States title defense, but anything but this match. I mean, so much for wasting pay-per-view time, but I guess I can understand this match was supposed to bridge the gap between Cena, Kane, as well as the WWE Championship match, which comes up next. And the next match was Dolph Ziggler taking on CM Punk, who was the reigning champion. This was actually a really great match. One of the very few good matches on the card. You have John Laurinaitis coming out and saying that that he'll be refereeing outside, and and just a random refereeing on the inside of the ring. So I wasn't sure, but I just felt like that whole thing was just a waste. I mean, Punk and Ziggler hardly went outside, and John Laurinaitis was just standing outside for nothing for the most part. I mean, he did play a part in the match, like towards the end, where around the time where like CM Punk tried to do the go to sleep on Ziggler, John Laurinaitis tried to like distract the other referee, and then basically Laurinaitis and Punk had a little argument, and then there was like when Punk tried to do a GTS, he was just he used Ziggler just to kind of knock out. He just swung Ziggler over like a batting ram against Laurinaitis. I mean, the match itself, I mean, it was really good. I mean, not like nothing particular, but it was a good way, making it seem like Ziggler was capable of being somewhere in the world title picture. Just some nice reverse, some nice technical mat wrestling. Ziggler tried to do like sleeper hold, and Punk tried to counter it with the Anaconda Vice. You saw CM Punk. You saw one that either Punk or Ziggler were doing like a crossbody, and then they counter into a roll up. Some really nice back and forth action, and basically Punk and Ziggler, basically a really good match. Like I said, Punk went over Ziggler to retain his WWE title, but this was actually really good. So 3.5 stars. I mean, it was good but not great in any way, but still at least a massive improvement compared to a majority of the undercard matches before it. So I mean, this was probably one of the better matches of that night. If you haven't seen the match, just check it out. But it was still a really good match. Just not one of CM Punk's best. And then the next match we have is the 30-man Royal Rumble match. The match started off with The Miz cutting a promo. He drew number 1 the Rumble. And Miz was just cutting a promo about how he was guaranteed that he was going to win the Rumble and go on to headline Mania for either a world title shot. This was really around the time Miz was just starting to really go under this kind of a losing streak in a way. Like, Miz turned on R-Truth after he lost to The Rock and Cena at Survivor Series in that tag match. And then there was like this behind the scenes issue where the WWE executives were kind of blaming the Miz because that the reason why the Survivor Series buy rates weren't really as high as they expected it to be and then instead they just blamed it on the Miz, and then he was just de-pushed from that point on, even though he was already getting de-pushed by this point. But once he broke away with Awesome Truth, it was really kind of between that and, he's still going through this. I mean, and his face turn. I just really don't care for the Miz at this point. I mean, yeah, he was just a one-hit wonder world champion, and he was just kind of just the underdog for most of his title reign. But I know I'm getting a little off subject, but just Miz just pretty much start off the match along with his former manager Alex Riley. Alex Riley got eliminated pretty soon. I mean, normally you wouldn't see number ones and number twos getting eliminated so quick. Well, actually, the Miz was still in the Rumble throughout almost the entire match, and Alex Riley got eliminated fast. And then the Rumble goes on. I like this. It was great to see some old faces. Mick Foley, Booker T. Even though he came back last year, but still it was nice to see him in the ring again. And I wasn't really sure if having the idea of all color commentaries participating in the Rumble, but maybe it's probably just to compensate over the lack of big WWE roster that they were really starting to. They didn't really, the roster wasn't as thick as it was compared to many years ago, but I guess that's why they used the color commentators. They also used a couple managers too, like Ricardo Rodriguez, who's Alberto Del Rio's manager. So there was some good comical things in this match, with Mick Foley and Santino with the Mandible Claw and the Cobra respectively. But unfortunately, neither one of them locked in any of their finishing moves on one another. The Colon brothers got eliminated pretty quickly. What else? What I remember. So basically, the Miz and Cody Rhodes were pretty much two of the competitors in the Rumble that managed to even last as long in the Royal Rumble match. And by the time they got to the Final Four, they were pretty much eliminated, right out of the gate. And the Final Four consisted about Sheamus, The Big Show, Chris Jericho, and what else? Dang, I keep forgetting about that other guy. I think it was Dolph Ziggler. I could be wrong, but no, it was good back and forth. Quickly, a lot of the guys got eliminated. Ziggler got eliminated. Let's see, Big Show got eliminated. Well, actually, excuse me. Holy shit, the Final Four. Oh yeah, Randy Orton, not Dolph Ziggler. Big Show. Yeah, it was Randy Orton, not Dolph Ziggler. Excuse me. Anyway, so the Final Four didn't last very long. Big Show got eliminated, and then Orton got eliminated afterwards. So it came down to about Sheamus and Jericho. They went at it for a nice couple minutes. Really good action. Jericho putting over Sheamus in this match. It almost seemed like they were almost gonna eliminate one another. There've been a lot of moments like that, but it took some time before Sheamus would eventually bro kick Jericho when he was hanging on the apron, and he pretty much dropped off the apron for Sheamus to be the 2012 Royal Rumble winner. The Royal Rumble match was good, but there was a lot of quick eliminations that year. Let's see. I wasn't sure if having guys that were challenging for the world titles only to lose a match, only to participate in the Rumble again. I wasn't sure if I would agree with that. Even though, it's okay for maybe people with championship belts going after or participating in the Royal Rumble match, but it was fine for what it was. But I think I've seen a lot better Rumbles in the past. But at least they had finally made a new guy in the Rumble match. Before the Royal Rumble matches before it consisted of a lot of guys that were basically already established. Um, Actually, scratch. Alberto Del Rio was the first to actually break the mold of that whole trend. So Alberto Del Rio did in 2011, and then Sheamus did in 2012. So Sheamus didn't break the mold. Excuse me. Guess I'm getting my facts mixed up. So yeah, it was nice seeing someone different winning the Royal Rumble match. I mean, yeah, Sheamus was a former world champion, and I personally didn't like his first two title reigns. I didn't think he was ready, but I guess seeing as how Sheamus had been somewhat a build up, I guess it was kind of understandable. Um, the way he was being built up and all. The 30-man Royal Rumble match gets 3.5 stars. About the same score as the match I gave for the CM Punk Ziggler match. Um, yeah, I mean this Royal Rumble review overall, 6 out of 10. The last two matches I highly recommend it. Recommend. I don't know why it's hard for me to say it. And the World Heavyweight Championship was okay, but could have been a lot better. But pretty much the rest of the other matches on the card was just total abomination, just mediocre, flat out. So, yeah, this is the Gold Standard 02924, and I'm signing out.